Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. We're so back. We're so back. 2025. We're excited. We got a whole year of fights coming up. Starting off with an absolute banger. We got Dern versus Ribas 2. Good old women's MMA. We're back though. I'm excited. Excited to break down this fight card, get started with the new year. We got some plans for the social media this year and doing a ladder challenge. Go check that out on my Instagram. It's gonna be good. On top of that, shout out to my mom. She made merch for the channel. Saucy Picks MMA. We got a hat there, and then a good old hoodie. Oh yeah, mom clutched up with the Christmas gifts. But yeah, it's exciting. This is gonna be a good year. May as well just get right into it. We've got again Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas 2. I don't know if I see this fight going very differently than the first time, but we'll get into that as we get closer to that main event. But starting off, we've got Joe Solecki versus Nurulo Aliyev. Um, I don't really see. I see this fight goes. I feel like one of two ways. There's not really any other ways I see it going. It's going to be Nurulo Aliyev, by pretty much a smothering decision. He's going to lay on top, win the minutes, probably win a really boring decision, or it could be Joe Solecki by some crazy anaconda choke or guillotine or snatch the neck somehow. But other than that, I don't think it's gonna really go any other way. I think this is gonna be Aliyev's fight. I want to say, yeah, he's a huge favorite, minus 540 favorite. Don't agree with that, but I do think he is definitely the rightful favorite, and it'll probably be a smothering, like I said, a 3 round slow paced fight, and it's gonna be a 30-27 or 29-28 decision for Aliyev. Really not much to be said about that fight. Betting wise, I'm steering clear. I won't be attacking that in any way. But yeah, the pick for that first fight of 2025 is going to be Aliyev for me. Moving on, we got Fatima Klein versus Victoria Dudakova. Fatima Klein, she did come in and she lost to, I believe it was Jasmine Jasdavicius. She was supposedly, Aaron Blanchfield's protege and partner, and I do think she's still that good. I think the hype is still there. I don't know if it's minus 900 kind of hype, but I do think she's still a very, very talented fighter. She's fought both flyweight and strawweight. Uh, she's a champion in other organizations. She's a very skilled fighter. Victoria Dudakova, all around kind of a mediocre, really not anything to write home about. She does have some striking, very little ground game. Fatima Klein, I think we all expect her to come in here and probably win this fight by submission or some type of club and sub, maybe just a club. But I think she's going to be the better fighter here. She's going to be the more skilled fighter. She's going to have the better fight IQ. I think it's going to be Fatima Klein all day here. But again, these favorites, there's no value on either side here. Uh, I just don't see Victoria Dudakova getting it done in any way. And a minus 900 on Fatima Klein is just gross. So I'll be steering clear of that. But for the pick, it'll be Fatima Klein. Fight number 3 on the card is Magomed Gadzhiyazulov versus Bruno Lopes. This is kind of another one where it's going to go one of two ways, essentially. It's going to be Bruno Lopes by some sort of probably a club and sub, or again, back to just that club, some sort of knockout or club and sub from Bruno Lopes, or it's going to be Magomed Gadzhiyazulov, really with a smothering, a 3 round smother. I guess maybe he could find a finish somehow, maybe a ground and pound finish, but I think Bruno Lopes is tough enough to last 3 rounds. So the pick here is going to be Magomed Gadzhiyazulov, probably by decision, a boring fight if it is a decision win for Magomed. But again, don't count Bruno Lopes out. He could find some sort of, crazy knockout or big right hand or club and sub, like I mentioned before. I don't love the odds on this either. There could be some value on Bruno Lopes's side just because he does have a shot at, landing a big right hand or something crazy. But It does seem a little bit of a scary fight to be putting any money on. So I'll probably steer clear of this one as well. Maybe look for like a an under on significant strikes on the Bruno Lopes side in the DFS apps. But other than that, I'll probably steer clear. But for the pick, it's going to be Magomed Gadzhia for me. Moving on, we've got Cagliari and Ernesta Caracati. Initially, I was on Nicole Cagliari's side. I thought she was pretty good. I believe this is her debut, if I'm not mistaken. But I actually ended up just reviewing some tape, reviewing some, stats, things like that. I think Ernesta Caracati here is the better fighter. I think she's got heavy hands. I think she's also huge. She's a giant. She's the 5'9" compared to Nicole Collieri's 5'3". So she's got that going for her. She's got a 9-inch reach advantage or 8-inch reach advantage. So she's huge. Plus she's younger. So I think Ernesta Caracati is definitely the side here. Um, Minus 275 favorite, not much value there. I dislike betting on women's MMA just because it's so flaky. Anything can really happen. So I'll probably yeah, I'm going to steer clear of this one, but I think the pick here will probably be Ernesta Caracati. I think Nicole Cagliari is probably tough enough to last 3 rounds though, so it could be Ernesta by decision. She does have heavy hands though. She does have good striking, so maybe a KO, but I hate to bank on that. So it's probably an Ernesta by decision. All right, I'm excited for this one. We got Jacoby Smith coming out on a short notice versus Preston Parsons. I think this is Jacoby Smith all day long in the first 2 rounds. The reason I say that is just because it's a short notice fight. I don't know if he has the best gas tank in the world. He's going to be wrestling a lot, and that can wear on a gas tank. So I think the first 2 rounds is Jacoby Smith all day long. The third round, I could definitely see Preston Parsons turning it up, really putting the pressure and pace on Jacoby Smith. I don't know if he can find a finish, but if he is going to find a finish, it's going to be in the third round. But Jacoby Smith, he's a phenomenal fighter. He's really good, really talented. 9-0, just coming off of his Dana White Contender Series fight. Oklahoma State D1 wrestler, All American, phenomenal wrestler, really, really high fight IQ. So again, I think the first 2 rounds he's going to be able to wrestle up Preston Parsons pretty easily, and he's going to come out hot. He could find a finish in that first round, but Preston Parsons is tough on his in his own right, so he's not going to be an easy guy to put away. But I could see Jacoby Smith finding a ground and pound finish, maybe not submission, but definitely some sort of ground and pound uh, crazy finish in the first round. If that doesn't happen, I think Jacoby Smith is good enough to win the first 2 rounds and survive in the third round. So the pick here is going to be Jacoby Smith by decision. I want to say he's a pretty large favorite as well. I haven't checked the line in a minute, but last I checked, he was a big favorite. I'll steer clear of it. Maybe a Preston Parsons round 3 prop bet is maybe the way I'd play this, but other than that, I probably wouldn't be playing this any other way. But I do think Jacoby Smith is good enough here to beat Preston Parsons, probably by decision. But it'll be interesting to see how Jacoby Smith looks. But moving on, we've got Thiago Moises versus Trey Ogden. So this is another one of those fights where initially when it got announced, I was on the Thiago Moises side. I thought Thiago was good enough to, he's got some decent striking. Of course, we know him as a really good grappler. But I kind of got into the stats a little bit more, and really Thiago Moises, his wrestling is not super good. He has a lot of trouble taking guys down. Uh, and where it's going to be a Trey Ogden who is a good grappler in his own right, I think it's going to be even tougher for Thiago Moises to take him down. Yeah, Thiago might have some, a little bit of better striking than Trey Ogden, but really not by much. And Thiago does pretty much lose to the best of the best, so it's hard to see. It's hard to say if Trey Ogden is that or not. Uh, but I am gonna probably pick the Trey Ogden side here. I think Trey Ogden's good enough to defend the wrestling of Thiago Moises, and if not, implement his own wrestling in his own right. And I think the striking is really gonna be even. Maybe Thiago has a slight edge, but I don't think it's gonna be a big enough edge for it to really matter. So I'm gonna side with the dog here in Trey Ogden. I think he gets it done. I think he's got really good grappling. He's gritty. He's tough. He's able to push through those tough moments and tough times. And Thiago has, he's been around the block a lot. He is only 29 years old, but he's fought a lot of times and he's been in wars. And I don't know. I think Trey Ogden's going to be the side for me here. It'd be interesting to see though, because Thiago's a good fighter for sure. But I don't know. I'm going to go with the dog here in Trey Ogden. Moving on, we've got Marco Tulio versus Ihor Potieria. So with Ihor Potieria, he's kind of a wild card. The way I look at him is he's really, really dangerous in the first round and a half. That 7.5 minute mark is when he starts to kind of dive off the deep end and he becomes less and less dangerous. And if I'm looking at it as Marco Tulio has to survive for 7.5 minutes, I absolutely think he can do that. I think he's tough enough. I think he's skilled enough. I think he has a good enough chin to fend for 7.5 minutes, and I think from there on out he's going to take over this fight. He's going to drag it into deep waters. He's going to, land some big shots on Ihor. I think Marco Tulio is definitely the side here. He's a huge favorite. I don't love him at minus 530, but I don't trust Ihor Potieria to even throw money on him at all. So it'll be a pass for me. I'll just sit back and enjoy this one. But I think Marco Tulio is going to get this one done by decision. All right, we've got Jose Johnson versus Felipe Bunez. Bunez. Jose Johnson, he's a good fighter. He has really poor takedown defense. So that's definitely a concern. Felipe Bunez, he's a good fighter as well. He's got, okay striking. I think he can grapple pretty well. Um, I don't know. This one's a little bit of a tougher one. I think I've got to side with Jose Johnson on this one. He's got fast hands. He does have some offensive grappling on his own, but I do hesitate a little bit because of his takedown defense and the lack thereof. So that's definitely a concern. If Felipe Bunez comes in with a heavy grappling style and a heavy grappling game plan, I think he could take down Jose Johnson a lot of times and hold him there. We saw Jose Johnson get submitted by Damone Blackshear just a few fights ago via twister, which was kind of crazy. And again, that was against Damone Blackshear, but I don't know. I think Jose Johnson, if he can just stick and move, stick to his striking, his fast, slick hands, avoid the takedowns, I think he can get this one done. So for the picker, I'm going to go with Jose Johnson. I hate both sides. I don't know if I trust either side here. So I'm going to steer clear on the betting. Punahele Soriano versus Uros Medic. I've seen a lot of people this week go back and forth on this fight. Some people, they're saying Punahele Soriano is going to be wrestling and wrestling heavy, and then of course you've got Uros Medic who has phenomenal striking, and his striking is miles and levels better than Soriano's. So I have a hard time leaning the Soriano side just because in recent times, in recent fights, he has a poor gas tank. Yeah, we did see him use his wrestling against Miguel Baeza in his last fight, but Miguel Baeza didn't really have much for him. I mean, the dude landed six significant strikes and couldn't defend a takedown to save his life. And yes, Uros Medic has had issues with takedown defense in the past, but I think Uros Medic is going to be good enough here to defend the takedowns, wear down Punahele Soriano, land the big shots, and I think he'll probably chin Soriano here. So I'm going to take Uros Medic on the side here. This could be a coin flip though. It all depends on Soriano's gas tank and his style. If he comes in wrestling heavy with a good gas tank, it could be him all day long. If he comes in with any sort of gas tank issues or the wrong game plan, it's Uros Medic for me all day long. So I just can't trust Punahele Soriano enough to go with him here. So I'm gonna side with Uros Medic, probably to KO Punahele Soriano. I'm excited for this next fight: Austin Bashi versus Christian Rodriguez. Bashi's a good fighter. I see a lot of people taking the side of Christian Rodriguez this week, and I can understand that because he's a plus 195 underdog, and we've seen Christian Rodriguez take out a whole bunch of of these prospects, if you will. The Raul Rosas Jr., the JSP. He's Isaac Dogarian. He's fought all of these really good up and comers, and he's been able to put a stop to a lot of them. However, not all of them have had the gas tank and pace that Austin Bashi has. This Austin Bashi kid's good. His pace is insane. His cardio is unmatched. I mean, a lot of his style is very similar to Merab Dvalishvili's. Only difference is he is more dangerous than Merab in the submission game. If he takes your back, he's got really good rear naked choke, but his takedowns are phenomenal. I just with Christian Rodriguez, usually he rides out the first round, survives, and then takes over the second and third. But I don't think Austin Bashi is going to slow down in this fight. I think from the first to the third round, Austin Bashi is going to go hard. He's going to wrestle 24/7. He's going to take Christian Rodriguez down a million times. And Christian Rodriguez hasn't always had the best takedown defense. So while yes, plus 195 on Christian Rodriguez is definitely tempting, I got to side with Austin Bashi here. He's really good wrestler. He has some very good hands as well. 13-0. But the thing that really I guess sways me towards the Austin Bashi side is his cardio. His cardio is phenomenal. Where Raul Rosas Jr., a guy that fought Christian Rodriguez, his cardio wasn't all that great. Isaac Dogarian death gassed and got 10-8'd in the third round. So Austin Bashi's not going to do that. His cardio is too good. His takedowns are too good. His wrestling is too good. I think Austin Bashi is going to take this one via unanimous decision. Uh, but again, it's hard to knock you for going with that plus 195 on Christian Rodriguez. I just don't think I can get there this week. Alrighty, Chris Curtis versus Roman Kopylov. Another one where at first I saw this announced, and initially I was on the Chris Curtis side. But again, got into all the stats and you know looked at some film. Action Man is just old here. He's 37 years old, almost 38 years old. Roman Kopylov's 32. Kopylov has more tools in his uh, arsenal to beat Chris Curtis than Chris Curtis does to beat Roman. Reason I say that is Roman Kopylov is a phenomenal kickboxer. His kicks are really good. We've seen him have some insane highlight reel head kick KOs, body shots. His low kicks are phenomenal. His hands are great as well. So when it comes to the striking, he uses everything and utilizes everything, where Chris Curtis really just boxes. Where Chris Curtis does have a slight edge in the stand-up game is his body work. His body work's really good. So if Chris Curtis can come in and work the body from start to finish, I could see Roman Kopylov tiring out and maybe Curtis putting on the pressure in the third round, finding some sort of, last minute finish. But again, back to Roman Kopylov, he also has the sambo to lean back on. He's a good wrestler. We saw that against Cesar Almeida in his last fight. He was able to win that fight using his sambo and his wrestling. Um, and I just think Chris Curtis, he's got a lot of miles on him. He's got 42 fights. He's 37 years old. The side here is going to be Roman Kopylov for me. He's got more tools in his arsenal. He's a little more dangerous. He's younger. I just think he's the side here for me. Would love to see Chris Curtis get it done. I don't, I like Curtis, but unfortunately, I got to pick the Roman Kopylov side for this one. Abdul Razak Al Hassan, Cesar Almeida. So not much to be said about this one, really. It's going to be it's really, I mean, we've come to know Abdul Razak Al Hassan as a striker and a guy that throws haymakers and bombs. He does have his judo in his back pocket, but he rarely uses it. So I'm going to break it down in terms of the Abdul Razak Al Hassan that we know, which is the haymaker guy, the guy that throws bombs. And it's either going to be Abdul Razak Al Hassan, KO one or bust, or it's going to be Cesar Almeida, probably by decision. So unless Abdul can come in and use his judo, it's just hard to trust him to do that because he hasn't used it in so long. So the pick here is going to be Cesar Almeida. It could be a boring fight, to be honest with you. Cesar Almeida could use his distance and his length to, put a stop to Abdul's big, huge right hand bombs. But if Abdul Razak Al Hassan can come in and use his judo, he could also win it. But I just can't trust him to do that. So I'm gonna go with Cesar Almeida by decision in this one. Co-main event here, we've got Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Carlston Harris. Old guys, a couple really old dudes, and I hate it when they make fights like this with just old guys. I mean, 38 years old and 37 years old. They're just old, man. They shouldn't be in the octagon anymore. They're yeah, it's not good. But um I'm kind of leaning towards the Santiago side of this. I do hesitate though. Reason I hesitate is because the way he's been getting hit lately and the way he takes punches and eats punches, it doesn't look very good. Doesn't look like he can take the shots anymore like he used to. However, Carlston Harris just got KO'd by Chaos Williams, and he's coming off a KO loss as well. So it's kind of a coin flip here, and they've got it at dead even odds for a reason. I'll probably lean the side of Santiago Ponzinibbio. Reason for that is Carlston Harris's striking is garbage. He has no striking. He does have grappling, but I think Santiago can put a stop to that. I don't think Carlston Harris's grappling is good enough to get Santiago down. And if it is, I think Santiago can get up and hold his own on the ground. Um, so it's probably going to be Santiago Ponzinibbio via decision, but he could also find some sort of crazy weird knockout potentially. But I'll side with the Argentine dagger here and go with Santiago Ponzinibbio. Not a very confident pick though, I have to say. It's just some old dudes, man. Steer clear, betting wise, is what I have to say. All right, Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas. Here we go. So there's a lot of hate on Mackenzie Dern this week, which is understandable because of her performance last time against Amanda Ribas, as well as her last few performances in the octagon. But I'll give her some props. Her striking has improved. Excuse me. Her striking has improved over the last few years, and they last fought in 2019. So since 2019, it's been 5 years. Well, 6 years now. Mackenzie Dern's striking has absolutely improved. She's definitely the better jujitsu practitioner here. But Amanda Ribas just has a lot of volume. I mean, she's almost 5 significant strikes per minute. She's all out blood and guts war. She's ready to walk across the octagon and you know dominate her opponent. She's just a fighter's fighter, and I think she'll be able to. She has better wrestling than Mackenzie Dern for sure. So I think she'll be able to negate the wrestling of Mackenzie Dern, if not implement her own wrestling. And yes, Mackenzie Dern is a better jujitsu practitioner, but Amanda Ribas is a black belt in jujitsu, and she has skills of her own, and I think she'll also be able to negate that from Mackenzie. And then it comes down to the striking, and Mackenzie Dern, while yes, I did say her striking has improved, it's nowhere near the level of Amanda Ribas. Um, so again, while I don't necessarily agree with the hate on the Mackenzie Dern side this week, I don't think I can pick her to win this fight. I think it's probably going to go similar uh, to the first time. It's going to be a unanimous decision for Amanda Ribas, and that's going to be that. I don't think Mackenzie Dern is good enough to get it done, unfortunately. Uh, but yeah, that's the side I'm going to take here is Amanda Ribas by decision. But there we go. We did it. The first fight card broken down. While it is kind of a gross fight card, I'm excited for it. I'm excited to start off this new year and make some money this year on these fights. We've got in a week from Saturday, we'll have the Islam Makhachev Sarukian and Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar fights, which are going to be awesome. Super stoked for that. Hopefully, it doesn't get burned down over there in California with all the crazy fires going on. But yeah, it's exciting. So there you have it. Stay tuned on my Instagram, as well as my TikTok, Facebook, all social medias. I'll be uploading videos. I'll be uploading bets, the things I've got going on this week. I did just barely uploaded the ladder challenge that we're starting this week. So go ahead and go find me on Instagram at Saucy Picks MMA. Give me a follow, and let's make some serious changes here, boys. But with that said, Saucy Picks MMA, we out.